What is up, everybody? It is Thursday, and usually we're doing live before lock for baseball a little bit later on in the day. But what is happening today? It is the first full NFL preseason slate. Well, I shouldn't say full. It's only 2 games, but it's the first regular preseason slate that isn't only showdowns. Last week, the preseason kicked off with the Hall of Fame game, and now we have a 2-game NFL preseason slate. So Eric and I are about to break down the baseball slate. Then after us, we've got Lofty and Matt Kajeski breaking down the football slate. So pretty excited that we have the NFL product launching right now. And if you guys want to sign up for our NFL preseason package, we've got a deal for you. Because if you sign up using that link that we have below, you're going to get 25% off all of our data that we have for the NFL preseason. And it's only good for today. So if you guys want to be playing NFL preseason, go sign up and use that link so you can get 25% off. And Jordan, did you see the screenshot that I sent in the run sheet here that we could show the people? Because even though there was only the 1-game slate last week for the Hall of Fame game, we did see people adding us on Twitter talking about all the successes they had playing NFL preseason, courtesy of the guru himself, Matt Kajeski, who, listen, he knows very few things in life, Matt Kajeski. Very, very few things. He knows like tuna fish, he knows Four Locos, and he knows football. He will tell you any football game out there. There's a Pee Wee football game down the street. Matt Kajeski is going to tell you who's going to win and who the best prospects are on the team. And that's how he's been able to help people make money in the college football streets, even preseason NFL. And last week we had Sam Van Dam tweeted us and said, not a bad way to start the NFL season. Thanks at Matt Kajeski for the analysis, and Lofty for the content last night on the show. Stochastic.com stays the best. So see, not all the many entry fees here from our friend Sam, but still he ended up profiting $583 on last week's NFL slate. And if you guys want to make some money, sign up using that link below where you're going to get 25% off our NFL preseason package. All that aside, if you guys haven't done yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Eric, what's happening today, man?
So you and I were on a call. We ended up getting off the call, and then I decided to go out, refill my coffee. This is the story I was going to tell that Jordan Klein didn't want to hear any part of and just walked away from the computer.
By the way, sorry to cut you off. Yeah. But before we started, Eric goes, guys, I have a story to tell you. And then Jordan just got up and walked away. That is the exact timing of how it happened.
It's unbelievable. But anyway, this story they didn't give a shit about that I do. So I'm going to refill my coffee, and my dog, he gets up from his nap. He does his little yawn thing. It's adorable. It's sweet. But then Jordan knows, because he was here on Tuesday, he runs directly at your dick and like tries to like ram into it. He has no self-awareness that like that might be a region of your body you shouldn't go head first into. So I was a little bit like proactive about it. So I was like, no, just relax. So he sits down in my lap, and then he reaches his paw up and he took out a chunk of my lip, and I was bleeding everywhere. Just legitimately, he just whacked me with his paw. And I was just like, oh shit, I got to show in like 25 minutes. And my wife's like, oh, you're fine. And then she looked at it, she goes, oh, you're like that, you're bleeding. I was like, yeah, no, this is not a good deal. So I just got done icing my lip for about 15, 20 minutes before we got on the stream. Play hurt, baby, play like a champion. Basically, I'm a UFC fighter now.
Yeah, you're clearly very, very tough, as has been exemplified over the years. All the things we've seen, how tough Eric is, how thick his skin is, how nothing could ever rattle him in any sort of way whatsoever. And once again, just another example of this with, Eric with his rub some dirt on it mentality and showing up to the show as if nothing has happened at all. And definitely not butthurt at all by the fact that Jordan Klein clearly didn't give a shit about the story and let it save for here. But Eric has toughed it out, and he is here with us now to break down what is only a 4-game baseball slate. There was an earlier slate. Did you end up playing that one by chance?
I did. I actually did. And you know what? It didn't go well because somehow an Alek Manoah and Noah Syndergaard pitching matchup finished 4-3, 10 left on base for the Blue Jays. Just punch me in the face. Just punch me in the face. I don't even want to be here. Like, why is life the way that it is? How does Noah Syndergaard and Alek Manoah play to a 4-3 baseball game? I think Manoah left 6 got left on base for the Guardians too against Manoah. Just what an absolute travesty of a baseball game. That should have been a just shootout of epic proportions, but no. Syndergaard is not fixed. We are going to bet against this guy from now until forever.
And by the way, also, I'm sure a lot of people are willing to take you up on the offer to punch you in the face. I'm sure there's a couple people that would be willing to do that in the YouTube chat. Something else as well that people have astutely pointed out is nothing some makeup can't fix, Eric.
God, the glory days.
Can't fix.
The glory days.
Can't fix.
Tell you what, I've been taking care of my skin. A lovely little routine.
It is true.
Everything's starting to come together. But I will say, out of anybody that's changed their physical appearance here of late, Mr. Jordan Klein, he's looking swole. That guy has been putting in the work. He can't do a push-up still, but saw him in person Tuesday. I was impressed by how slim, lean, and mean that kid was looking. What a machine.
Yeah, Jordan
The
Klein.
machine.
He's been putting in time. He's been putting in time at the gym. That's why he's got his defense hat on. He's got his finest pineapple sleeveless shirt on. Jordan's ready to rock and roll today. And so are we. Talk about tonight's baseball slate. And, it's a tough one as far as pitching goes, Eric. And, we've only got 4 games. So we'll really separate DraftKings and FanDuel. If you guys have any questions for us whatsoever, throw them into YouTube chat, throw them into Discord. I think we'll definitely have the leeway to answer a lot of your guys' questions today. 3 really chalky pitchers that are all good pitchers, all expensive today. We've got Clayton Kershaw, 10,200 against the Colorado Rockies. He's projected for 55% ownership. We've got Aaron Nola, 10,500, projected for 58% ownership. And then James Paxton, who is 9,300 against the Royals at 47% ownership. So we've got 3 really good pitchers in 3 really good matchups who are all going to be really popular. Do you have a preference amongst these 3 pitchers?
Yeah, I'm pretty positive it's going to be a lot of Aaron Nola. And I think this has more to do with, if you're going to give me Clayton Kershaw and Aaron Nola at equal ownership, I have to take Aaron Nola every single time in this kind of a scenario. And I know we have a top 2 percentage there that's 3% higher for Clayton Kershaw. But what's really difficult for the data to show is pitch count concerns. It's very hard for me to know exactly how far and how long they're going to push Clayton Kershaw in his first spot back here. I'm of the belief that he was never really hurt in any kind of a major way, and they were trying to limit his innings. He's had so many back problems throughout the season, or throughout seasons, plural, his entire career. And now they basically just found an efficient way of saying, oh, your back hurts. Just chill for a little while. He hasn't pitched since June 27th? It's been a hot second. I don't know what to make of what these pitch counts issues are, but again, it'd be one thing if Aaron Nola at, I don't know, if it was like a 10% difference in top 2 percentage and like a 15% difference in terms of ownership, we could have that conversation. But I know Washington doesn't strike out as much as Colorado is. There's no doubt about that. But I legitimately have 20 more pitches projected for Aaron Nola than what I have for a baseline of 80 for Clayton Kershaw. That just points me in Aaron Nola's direction.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you. And, I've got a dummy version of my lineups built for the purpose of this show where I ran 5,000 lineups through our sims, just kind of show based on our data, what I'm going to be getting to. And I'm getting to a bunch of Kershaw, but I'm probably going to downgrade it. And I do expect that our projections could end up being updated on a little bit as well, just based on the fact that we've got some time to go until lock. And I don't really know what to make of his pitch count either, because it's not like he's been making minor league rehab starts or anything like that. So what is your expectation as far as his pitch count is concerned?
I have him at 80 right now, and I was going to ask you if you had any kind of a different read for it. I think that seems like I'm straddling the difference between, well, he could maybe go for 85, 90. He could go for 75 and 5 clean sheets of work and just get himself out of there. I don't expect him to pitch into the 6th. I think probably this is a discussion on what people end up doing for FanDuel. What do you expect people to do on FanDuel? Because he is pulling less than half the ownership of Aaron Nola over there, which I think speaks to what we expect the strikeout matchup to be for Clayton Kershaw going up against a Colorado team that misses Chris Bryant, that no longer has on their team CJ Cron or Randall Grichuk. So there's not a whole lot of issues, if I should put it that way, that exist in this lineup. They're going to strike out at north of a 27% clip on the aggregate with their projected lineup. They're at 26.8% for the season. And on the flip side, Washington avoids strikeouts against righties at the second highest clip. But for FanDuel, I just think you kind of write off Clayton Kershaw on a 4-game slate if he's going to be in 1 out of 5 lineups, because that upside isn't there the way it is for Nola, Paxton, not Littell, but Patrick Corbin even. I would be inclined to take some shots on him on FanDuel simply because he's stretched out. I don't think Clayton Kershaw gets into the 7th inning in any way, shape, or form. Sure. And I think it's probably a very low outcome that he reaches the end of the 6th.
Yeah, I've been looking on Twitter throughout the day just to see, has there been, because a lot of times we'll see a manager say, he is capped at 5 innings. He is capped at 65 pitches. We've seen none of that on Kershaw. We've had no information at all. With that, it's really hard to say. My most logical guess is we get 5 innings out of him today. It could be less, though. I would be really surprised unless he's crazy efficient, because we see that from Kershaw sometimes too, where it's like, hey, look, he threw 60 pitches and made it through 6 innings. We've seen that from Kershaw at times. So maybe if there's an outlier case like that, it could happen. But I think the most likely scenario here is he probably pitches about 5 innings. Would you say that's like a fair guess?
I think that is exactly it. Like if you were to set the line at 15.5 for his pitches, I think that's like, I wouldn't even know which side of that I would want to be on. I have him for 80 pitches. That's kind of making my life easier. Again, there are outcomes where he pitches 5 innings and ends up optimal on FanDuel. I'm just saying that for me, it seems like 1 out of 5 when you have Aaron Nola on this slate. And then you have other stretched out pitchers like Corbin, Marsh, as disgusting as that might sound even. But specifically Paxton and Nola, I would just be more inclined to roll with them and get different with bats on FanDuel.
And one other thing that we should mention, and then we'll talk a little bit more about Paxton, because Paxton really isn't a price point of his own over on DraftKings. He is a little bit cheaper, 9,300 as compared to Nola being at 10.5, Kershaw at 10.2. I do agree with you, though. I like Nola over Kershaw just because of the pitch count concerns with Kershaw. I think it gives Nola a little bit of a higher ceiling there.
I will say one other part of this. You can't do anything about swapping. We're going to know what Clayton Kershaw's ownership ends up being. Aaron Nola, I'm going to be reacting. We have 30 minutes before that Boston game. If Aaron Nola ends up 65% owned, I can guarantee you I'm going to start playing a lot more Kershaw on DraftKings. So I think you want to be very sensitive to how that ownership shows up for Aaron Nola. I'm inclined to play a lot of both of them in that scenario, but I think if you're running into a scenario where Aaron Nola, like if people are thinking the same way you and I are, where, well, I have pitch count concerns for Clayton Kershaw, why wouldn't I? Then if Aaron Nola ends up crazy popular, you're going to see a very under-owned Clayton Kershaw on DraftKings specifically relative to what this matchup could be for his ceiling. So I am going to be reacting to that ownership. I'm going to probably take away some pieces of James Paxton and turn that into him, probably move around some bats because the Dodgers are obviously a big part of this slate too against Colorado and Ty Blach. But very much looking forward to playing a little bit of an ownership game on a 4-game slate. I'm playing 150 as a result.
Let's talk about the weather side of this, because this is going to be really pertinent when we talk about James Paxton. And don't worry, guys, we're talking to the pitchers from a DraftKings angle now. A lot of the FanDuel talking points are going to be the same, but still, we'll make sure to isolate the 2 sites and talk about them individually. What are you going to do with the weather? Because it does look like there's a chance of very bad weather in the Boston game. I did see people bring that up in the YouTube chat, and it's real. If you go look at the weather report right now, Google, one of the best sources of weather out there, they've got it raining during the Boston Royals game. But now here's the part of this. It's going to rain, it looks like, at the start of the game. But if they're willing to wait it out, it's going to end up being clean. It's just kind of a scenario of like, are they willing to wait out the rain? What are you going to do as far as it impacts your DFS lineups? Because it is pretty tough on a 4-game slate to just ignore the weather. We really have to make some stands here. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah, so it shouldn't be as hard because we do have a game to be able to swap everything into. And that being Los Angeles, where baseball is played in a bubble. It's always nice outside. I don't think they've had a rain out in, I think it's a really, really long time. I saw a number on that on a telecast recently where it was just an insane number of games that the Dodgers have played without a rain out in LA. But I am of the mind that we can easily find ways to get to the Dodgers to be able to play Colorado as a last resort. Shout out Papa Roach, but Kansas City, Boston should be able to go in some capacity. It's going to be something where they could play through it. They could not. I'm probably just going to sit and wait just like everybody else. And if I have to turn it into Dodgers, so be it. There's at least in their projected lineup enough value with some 3K outfielders, with some other guys. We shouldn't have to think about it too much, but yeah, it's obviously dicey anytime 25% of your slate could be getting zeros across the board.
It's really tough, right? Especially because we still have another hour and a half to go. If I had to guess right now, I would say that I would just play the game and we hope that the Boston Red Sox cooperate with us. I hope. So
shout out Adam for this idea too. I think you're probably of this mind too. You're going to lose a lot of days in MLB DFS. We've never hid from that fact. You're going to lose more days than you're going to win. If this game starts, I'm going to have a lot of it. If this game doesn't start, I'm probably not going to have a lot of it because you should have zero of it in that event. I don't know how much I can get off of entirely. I'm sure there's going to be salary constraints that make it difficult, or I'll have to play one batter that might not be in the projected lineup to make it work out salary-wise, or play some Rockies against Clayton Kershaw, which I'm actually okay with today. Like, it's 4 games. You're going to do the normal, like, one batter against your pitchers thing?
No, I don't think I'm going to put for this slate. I'm not going to play any pitchers versus batters. Here is why. We have a lot of stud pitchers on this slate, and I don't really envision that I'm going to be getting to very many of these cheap pitchers that we're going to be talking about in a second. Like, I don't have a whole lot of desire to play Patrick Corbin. I don't really have a whole lot of desire to play Ty Block today. But by the same merits, like, I don't really have a whole lot of desire to heavily stack against Clayton Kershaw. And if I am stacking against Clayton Kershaw or rostering years against him, then I could just go with Nola and Paxton as my pitchers. So because there are 3 stud pitchers on this 4-game slate, I don't really feel pressed to have to allow hitters versus pitchers for this particular one.
Okay, I'm setting it at 1 right now, and I'm going to explain why. Well, I guess I should start with this. If Kansas City Boston doesn't play, I'm going to go to 2. I will instantly go to 2. I'll have no problem on a 3-game slate having that be the case. Looking at the weather right now, it seems as though, again, I think this game, if it starts, I'm just going to have a lot of it. It is what it is, and I'll take the shots on it. If it ends up getting rained out and screws me over, so be it. But I'm going to have it at 1, mainly because there are so many stud pitchers, and a home run that you have as a one-off could be so valuable in this kind of a setting. And I'm looking at Washington. There's a Joey Meneses at first base. You have Dominic Smith. So 2 options where I can see and envision a scenario there. In the outfield, I think it gets a little bit more dicey because there are there's more options. I'm just specifically looking at first base alone, where you're going to have less than 20 options to be able to play guys there, even with multi-positional eligibility on this slate. At catcher, you're going to legitimately have 10, 12 tops. You have Sal Perez. Yeah, no, you're going to literally have only 9 options for starting catchers, period, end of story, full stop. So if you run into a catcher who's able to one-off against a Clayton Kershaw, and I don't think that that's unrealistic with Elias Diaz, who I'd find to be straight up the 4th best hitting catcher or 5th best hitting catcher, depending on how you value Keibert Ruiz amongst that entire field. So I think there are scenarios specifically on the infield where I am kind of playing some game theory and trying to get to one batter, not doing it a ton, but still in about 20% of my lineups that I'm running here at the moment, I'm planning on playing a guy against some of these stud pitchers.
Yeah, well, you quoted a philosopher earlier, Eric, and I'm going to also quote the same philosopher and cut my life into pieces. Cut my life into pieces. This is my last resort, because to me, when I'm going to stack hitters against a pitcher, I really view that as a last resort. It's not something that I'm going to go to as like a primary option, because I could build lineups that I think are good without having to do that. I don't have, like, I don't give a fuck if I cut my arm bleed. I don't have to do that today. I could just build my lineups the way I normally do. I don't have to mess around with hitters versus pitchers.
I was going to say, I can't tell if people pick up on what we're putting down right now. We grew up in the same TRL era. That thing was on all the time. Is there a band that you don't know a single other song from quite like Papa Roach? I can't think of one. And they were on TRL all the time.
It's also probably last resort, a song that I randomly get stuck in my head more often than anything. And for no reason, like, I don't even have to hear it. I'll be in the shower in the morning, and I don't know what you do when you're in the shower, but I'll walk through what I'm doing. Also, it's a lot of delusions of grandeur. I sit there, and a lot of times I'll think about whatever thoughts I have, and I'm performing in front of an audience, and then the water hits my back, and I think that's like the applause from the crowd. But anyway, so I'm sitting in the shower, and I always get music stuck in my head, and I start singing, and Last Resort ends up coming in my head a lot.
Oh, it's good. I was gonna say, I was thinking Jill would be coming in your hand.
Oh, no, Papa Roach. So anyway, I'm going to, for now, I'm assuming the Red Sox game plays.
Same.
I'm going to, if anything changes, I'll tweet it out, right? We've got the show is going to be ending at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Slate locks at 6:40 p.m. Eastern time. And what I'm going to do, if anything changes between that time lapse, I'll tweet out and say, like, hey guys, I'm taking this game out of my player pool. And that's what I'm going to do. But I'm planning on leaving it in. I think I'm going to be sticking with that. Let's talk about the cheap pitchers on DraftKings. And Zach Lytle is projected for 30.3% ownership. So if you want to play a cheap pitcher, this is who the field is gravitating towards. Do you agree with it? Is Zach Lytle somebody you want to get to?
Yes and no. So there are some interesting things with Zach Littell because I find it hard to believe that he goes from being a very bad reliever and turns himself into a very good starter. I think this is like the classic example of what is comfortable for the field to do. And does Zach Littell, I mean, he plays for the Tampa Bay Rays. They've obviously made some shifts to his approach as a starter here. He's been doing like the bulk relief thing. He's gone 2 2/3, 3 1/3. Like there were a lot of relief appearances he had where he was still getting lengthened out more than like a typical reliever. But they obviously knew what they were doing with him, converting him to this starting approach. And obviously it's been 2 starts. I think the field is literally looking at what he's done, and that's just been very, very serviceable. He's induced a lot of ground balls, 11 in each of those. Ground ball rate's gone up as a starter, another kind of odd phenomenon. You wouldn't expect that either. 82 and 74 pitches. It's kind of like the path of least resistance, where like Liberatore feels like an uncomfortable click. Block feels like a very uncomfortable click. Mm-hmm. I'm landing on all of the Patrick Corbin, and I hate it. It's really horrible, but I think if I'm going to find somebody that's just terrible and roster them here on this slate, I'll just take the guy who's pulling none of the ownership whatsoever. 4.9% ownership compared to 30.3%. I'm going to just call it recency bias. And yes, do I expect Zach Littell has a better opportunity to succeed? Absolutely. But you look at his surface numbers as a reliever and as a starter here, and it doesn't add up to me. A 50.9% hard hit percentage, a 290 expected batting average, and nearly a 10% barrel percentage. This is not somebody who just flipped a light switch and became somebody else. So Patrick Corbin against the Phillies, it's awful, but there's no way he should be a 5-1 dog in this kind of scenario against Zach Littell.
So I just noticed, by the way, because I'm reading through the YouTube chats, my brother and my sister-in-law, both in the YouTube chat, they're asking if I want to go out to a bar after this. The weather's pretty shitty outside, guys. I don't know. We'll see. We'll address it after.
We just want to hang out. This is beautiful. My family, they never come into YouTube chat.
Yeah, but in fairness, they don't like you.
Okay, that's fair. That's
totally different scenarios.
Yeah, fuck you, mom and dad.
To talk about the cheap pitching we have on the slate, for me, it's, I'm losing my sight. I'm losing my mind. I wish somebody would just tell me that I'm fine, because I'm with you. I've got 17% of Patrick Corbin. It's nothing crazy. Like you said, all the Patrick Corbin, I don't know what that converts to in
38%
number.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's way, way more than I do. That is, that's an issue. That I would say 38% is aggressive.
I didn't say I liked it. I'm just saying you what I have right now. And it's, I wish somebody would tell me I'm fine. I'm not fine right now.
No. I mean, you really are. But Patrick Corbin is terrible. But so are these other cheap pitching options, right? So I'm looking at Patrick Corbin. He's my preferred cheap option with all things being considered. The price point, the ownership, the upside doesn't really exist for any of these pitchers, realistically, right? Mm-hmm. There are none of these pitchers we should expect to go out and pitch a good game today. But Patrick Corbin is only projected for 5% ownership right now. And when I ran my lineups through our data and the Sims, so I got to him in 17% of my lineups. And I cannot in good faith go out and be like, hey, Zach Littell at 30% ownership really sounds like a good idea. And by the way, I'm seeing people in chat. Steve Sanders said Corbin getting rocked, going to get rocked. Yeah, I agree with you. I think he's probably going to suck. You know why I think he's probably going to suck? Because he sucks every single time he pitches. But Zach Littell is 30% ownership, and that's like the alternative option. So you've got Littell is 30% owned. That's too popular for me. Corbin is 5% owned. He absolutely sucks. Then you got Alec Marsh. He's 1% owned. Matthew Liberatore, 2%. Ty Block, 1%. And it's just what is the path of least resistance to me. And I think that Patrick Corbin is maybe marginally better than guys like Alec Marsh and Ty Block, who, by the way, is pitching on the road in Los Angeles against the Dodgers. So the way I prefer to build my lineups is just Kershaw, Nola, Paxton, build around those three, which is primarily what I'm doing. But I need to get some exposure to some other pitchers over the course of 150 lineups. Mm-hmm. And Corbin is my preferred guy of the low. And it kind of seems like that is where you are landing as well.
Yeah, because, I mean, Marsh isn't going to pitch longer. Who is going to be this long reliever for Kansas City today? It's going to be Marsh primarily, right? Alec Marsh?
Yes, we have Marsh slated as the bulk guy, but
yeah, once again, Austin Cox was obviously popping up for me in some stuff where he's 5,300, and I was like, I just X'd him out to make sure that I didn't get any more of him. If you're going to go cheap, you play Ty Block, it's terrible. Matthew Liberatore, it's terrible, but like you can get, I'm overweight to both of them relative to 1%, but I have 3 and 4%, so there you go. Alec Marsh is okay. But there are just these scenarios where you're going to, again, 25.6% top two value percentage. He's the most positively leveraged pitcher there, but I don't know what exactly that workload looks like. You're playing a little bit of a raffle there. He went 2 2/3 in a long relief appearance. He did have 75 pitches, pitched an inning, pitched 5 days or what? Yeah, 5 days ago. So it's a difficult roster to be clicking that button. So Patrick Corbin, you kind of know what you're getting into. It's not going to go well a lot of the time, but the times that it does, you are really happy to have a 5% of him as opposed to, I mean, even if if one of Nola, Paxton, or Kershaw doesn't hit 20, you're probably smashing with Patrick Corbin.
So, by the way, did you play on Prize Picks today?
I did.
Okay, because we did get a question in Discord about Prize Picks, so we'll address that. But before we talk about some of the pitchers on FanDuel, want to let you guys know that the best way that you could possibly make any kind of money today is signing up at Jockmark. If you guys remember Jockmark, we used to do a whole bunch of basketball shows for them, and they are back in the mix for us right now, and they have an exclusive offer. Because if you sign up over at Jockmarket, we got a link below. You click on that, download the app, and then you sign up using the promo code Stochastic10. You're going to get up to a $100 deposit on your, or $100 bonus on your first deposit. And then also, you get access to a free square you're not going to find anywhere else. The only way to get over 0.5 strikeouts for Justin Verlander tomorrow is to sign up using that promo code Stochastic10. If you guys don't sign up with that promo code, you'll still get the deposit bonus, but you're not going to get over 0.5 strikeouts for Justin Verlander. So if you think Justin Verlander is going to have 1 strikeout tomorrow and you guys want to make some money on it, download Jockmarket, sign up using the promo code Stochastic10. That is also going to get you, like I said, you get $100, you put it in, you get another $100 in bonus money and a free square that you can use to multiply that money even more. So go check out Jockmarket and their Pick'em product. We also have projections for Jockmarket over at Stochastic.com. Now we've got Noah in our Discord channel who is saying that he has a free play on Prize Picks for $1,000 today. Give him a $1,000 free play. He wants to know if we get him any help or any kind of ideas. Have you checked out Prize Picks today?
Noah is the reason that I checked out Prize Picks. I have a note card that I put right here because he hit me up on Twitter and it said 30 minutes before lock, make sure you put a Prize Picks card on Twitter for Noah. And so I had done some research before it. I have 2 plays figured out right now that I think make some sense. And then you can kind of like figure out what you want to do from there. But JD Martinez, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman, you have them all at 1.5 total bases. I love just going Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. JD Martinez isn't confirmed going to be back in this lineup today. Don't get yourself in the situation where you click on somebody that has a chance of being scratched because it'll lower your payout. I'm looking to make 5 and 6 pick cards almost exclusively over on Prize Picks, but I love the Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman combination of 1.5 total bases. I think those two together make a great stack for you on Prize Picks. And again, we don't have to worry about ownership. We are looking for expected win percentage. We can relatively look at it next to the books. And against High Block, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman are breaking everything for me. So I am pretty positive on Prize Picks. That's the best place to get exposure where you don't have to think about ownership.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. So Noah asked us in Discord, but I'm not entirely sure if he is watching right now because he just added us and said, do you guys know what to go for Prize Pick? So I'm actually, as you are saying this, I'm typing it into Discord.
All
so
right,
I can
let him know
the thing as well.
Let me find out what those lines changed to so I can give him the exact. And yeah, we're doing Jockmarket, so I can give you the exact sportsbook odd conversion for him to make sure that we are all set.
So I said in there, and by the way, for anybody else who's playing on Prize Picks as well, just so you have this information, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman over 1.5 total bases. And I'm also going to pull up the data that we have over at Stochastic.com via our Pick'em Pro package. If you guys ever want to sign up and get a get a discount, there's a link for that below to sign up for our Pick'em Pro package for the first time.
Yeah, Mookie Betts minus 130 on the over. So yeah, that's looking really, really good. And Freddie Freeman had a higher number than that earlier today when I was looking at that as well. Let me double check that. His total bases is now sitting. Actually, the over of that has moved to plus 100. So you're better off leaving that one off. Mookie Betts for sure, though. That is a full go, full send.
Here's one fantasy score that I could get behind. Nolan Arenado over 7 fantasy points. We got him projected for 7.7. We've got the over winning 53% of the time. So if you're looking for another one there in terms of fantasy score, that's the best projected one that we have over in our Pick'em Pro. over 7 fantasy points for Nolan Arenado going up against Zach Lytle, who the field is playing like crazy today in DFS. And we talk about stacks. I think it might make sense to stack against Zach Lytle to be getting a little bit of leverage there, but also like Nolan Arenado for prize picks purposes. Anything else you want to add about DraftKings pitchers here, Eric? If not, we'll look at the FanDuel side of pitching.
Yeah, it's something where I can't tell you what the weather is going to be. We're more than an hour and a half away from that Boston game starting. If you get James Paxton unavailable to you, if you get Alec Marsh unavailable to you, you have to just play tie block. It's okay to play tie block. I know that sounds crazy and ridiculous and it's terrible, but like there are so many scenarios where you're just better off having a pitcher. There are going to be there'll be more money to be made on a slate like this than there will be on a typical 15 gamer where everybody would just be, playing 5-10% of these guys anyway. They're going to be completely owned in some scenarios. So go ahead, make sure you have tie block, and make sure if you're using Cruncher to be able to make your moves, if you're using the Sims tool, make sure that you get yourself an opportunity to play batters against your pitcher. And it's all right to just have a ton of them. You just want live players, period, if Kansas City Boston gets pulled off after that 6:40 p.m. Eastern time wave of games.
Eric Johnson is saying that he's playing 45% of tie block today.
Okay. That's way more than I have of Patrick Corbin. And I got to say, you, sir, have stones.
Yeah. By the way, I was very upset to see the other day, Eric. I saw the back and forth. You have the Sean V where you guys can't DM each other anymore. And oh man, that's so because that Twitter now limits the amount of DMs you get sent in a day.
Oh, I see what you're saying. That I am Sean V and Sean V.
No. This is an actual thing. This is an actual thing. Jordan knows what I'm talking about. So Eric had responded to Sean V on Twitter and said they're just apologizing that they can't have the regular Twitter DM conversations because of the way that Twitter is limiting DMs for non-blue subscribers. And instantly I got very upset because I realized with Eric Johnson and Sean V no longer communicating with each other, it is very unlikely a cure for cancer is coming anytime soon.
That's a good takeaway.
Yeah. So Eric, I'm up to date on everything going on in your Twitter, and 45% tie block, I would say is fairly crazy, but it's also a 4-game slate. Like if you're going to take some sort of stand, is it going to work out? Probably not. But I mean, there are worse plays to make on the slate. Like I can't tell you in good conscience that tie block is terrible when like I'm playing Patrick Corbin.
That's not how it works though. Like you just have to play. You got to play somebody else. You got to try to mix it up. And well, I'm mixing it up. All right. It's not going to be fun at all.
And we've got Warren, Boss Monkey 26 in our Discord channel. He is saying, with the weather in Boston for tonight, how risky do you think it is to avoid that game altogether? Dude, it's risky to play the game. It's also risky to fade it.
Yeah, there's 4 games. You're limiting yourself to just 6 teams of the 8 available. Like, if this game starts, I'm just going to play a ton of it and not think about it. Like, as long as it starts on time, period, I'm playing it. That's as simple as it gets. I doubt, though, just because of the way that this cell looks as it's hanging over the ballpark, if they start the game, I'm assuming it's starting wet. It's going to be raining. So they're just going to play through it, I would assume. And there's nothing I can do about it. If they say, hey, we're going to, it's going to be delayed, that would be the absolute worst case scenario, because then they could just shut it down at any time being like, yeah, this is just lingering and you're screwed. But if it starts, I'm just screwed. I'm just going to play it.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about FanDuel pitchers now, where I think the equation really gets changed. And you alluded to this at the top between Aaron Nola and Clayton Kershaw. On DraftKings, they're both super popular. You have to roster multiple pitchers. On FanDuel, though, I mean, they're still both popular, but Nola's projected for 47% ownership. Kershaw is at 18.5. On DraftKings, where they're similarly owned, you and I both prefer Nola. But what about on FanDuel, where Nola's 3x the ownership of Kershaw? Does that lead you a little bit more to Kershaw, and you just hope maybe he's super efficient and outperforms Nola at least 1 out of 3 times?
No, because then he's $700 more, which adds another layer to the equation where I still think people are going to play Clayton Kershaw. Colorado has a 3.2 implied team total today. It's even with the pinch count mitigations, I still think people are going to see Clayton Kershaw and end up playing Clayton Kershaw. And, obviously the people who are using our tools, using our content, using other fantasy providers. They're going to see that, oh my gosh, Clayton Kershaw, I shouldn't play him. I have pitch count concerns. There's a reason that he's not low, yada, yada, yada. But like, he's $700 more. I think I would be jamming if I were playing FanDuel, which I don't know if I am or not here today. I still have some time to decide, but I just would be inclined to not play any Clayton Kershaw, jam Aaron Nola, play a ton of James Paxton, and then I would just have a smattering of Patrick Corbin, of Matthew Liberatore, of guys who can actually get that quality start and kind of go out and break a slate. This is where I definitely wouldn't have any Alec Marsh at 7K. I think that he would kind of be off the board for me. Investing in him is just investing in every other pitcher on the slate to fail, or him to go out and rack up 8 and 10 Ks, which he's done randomly. But I don't think you'll see the kind of pitch count that really gets us to that spot, considering he pitched 4 days before, on the 1st, the 5th, and now the 10th of this month. I doubt he'll get worked to 95 pitches or something like that. So Clayton Kershaw, I'd just be inclined to not full fade, but I would be way, way underweight.
I think for me, what makes most sense on FanDuel relative to ownership and everything in large field tournaments, just going to James Paxton, because Paxton is half the ownership of Aaron Nola. And one of these scenarios also where, if you're playing a cash game, I think you're playing Aaron Nola over on FanDuel. But for tournaments, Paxton is 25% owned. Nola is 47% owned. If you look at our odds projected of these guys to be the top scoring pitcher, it's pretty similar between Nola and Paxton. 18% for Paxton, 23% for Nola. So once again, it's a little bit in favor of Nola, but not to the point where you should have 2x the ownership of him. So if I'm playing a large field tournament and can only roster one pitcher on FanDuel, Paxton would be my choice.
Agreed. I was adding one other piece of context here too. It's 3 hours from the time that Boston game locks until the Dodgers play tonight. It's a huge amount of time to be able to react and late swap and have certain things with your lineups. You can move to Colorado bats if you absolutely need to, if you're absolutely dead. But I also think that we might not know any pitch count. They don't have to tell us anything at any point in time, but it's probably going to be an hour before first pitch if they do say something to us, which means you have no ability to react to it. So like on DraftKings, I'm just going to play my regular Clayton Kershaw. He's fine there. I'm not worried about the pitch count. On FanDuel, that's where I'm kind of thinking about it. And that's obviously the discrepancy we have in ownership between DK and FanDuel is the quality start bonus.
And then I don't have any interest in the cheap guys over on FanDuel. Like maybe you have a different take here, but no, it seems you don't. Like you only have to roster one pitcher on FanDuel. I mean, fuck off with like Patrick Corbin, Zach Lytle, Matthew Liberatore, and these absolute pieces of garbage over there. No, thank you. It's just not necessary where you only have to play one pitcher.
Agreed. Why Colorado, Eric? What are you getting at? Yeah, if you're dead, I would just take all my dead lineups and go to Colorado because nobody's going to play them. It's going to be all Dodgers in the evening. So yeah, I mean, I'm already going to have some Colorado stacks. Nobody's going to have Colorado stacks. And we haven't seen Clayton Kershaw pitch in a month and a half. The best assumption is he's going to be really, really good right away. But there's a chance that maybe the command's off. He maybe walks a couple more guys than normal and something happens where, hey, Colorado, there are only 8 teams to pick from. I would be remiss to just write off an entire team out of 150 lineups.
Yeah, I'm up same page as you. Anything else you want to add at pitcher? If not, we could go and build some lineups in the lineup generator and see what's popping up over there.
Let's jump over there.
All right, let's do contrarian builds today, right? Only a 4-game slate. I want to see what comes up if we try to make contrarian lineups. You can only make them so reasonably contrarian on a 4-game slate, but we'll see. We'll see what ends up being, I don't think we're going to be getting to like Colorado Rocky stack to make contrarian builds, but who's to say what ends up popping up here? Here's what I do know for sure, other than the fact that you guys want to be taking advantage of that promo over at Chalk Market that I mentioned before when you sign up using the promo code Stochastic10. Another thing to take advantage of is if you're signing up for our lineup generator for the first time, use that link below in the description box to get access to it for less than $5. That's a pretty good deal because where you're going to find in here, as Jordan Klein, who's gotten really quick at clicking buttons for a long time, he was very slow clicking the buttons, but now the guy knows what's up. I could barely finish the ad read, and he's already got all the lineups built out here. We've got player exposure in here, stack exposure. You build up to 20 lineups, and you could upload them directly to DraftKings and or FanDuel, whatever you play. One site, both sites, up to 20 lineups for each of them. You could play those right into those sites. And also, if you want to play even more, here's a little cheat code for you guys. Look at some of the lineups you've built. Look at some of the players you have the most exposure to, and you can hand build some lineups built around the players you get the most of. As for us today, Check out the stack exposures there, Jordan. I want to see what we got to. The Red Sox.
Red Sox, my God.
Second consecutive day. Yesterday, Neil and I were getting to all of the Red Sox stacks in the lineup generator. Same exact deal today. 95% Red Sox stacks. Now it's not full 5-man stacks, which is why there are stacks of other teams also that are showing up here. But it's anything with 3 or more players is classified as a stack in the top stacks tool. So lots of Boston, but then also KC. That's kind of interesting that we're getting the Royals for leverage, right?
Yeah, well, it makes sense with the ballpark. And I mean, Kansas City's been crazy popular the last couple of days. They've been the path to be able to play some of the expensive pitchers you might have wanted or needed. They've been a path for people to play expensive bats. Now, the expensive bats are all on basically 2 teams. You have some St. Louis guys. You have the Dodgers specifically. I'm highlighting, starring, the major ones. You do have some Phillies and Tampa Bay guys who cost a little money as well, but specifically the Dodgers. Your path to playing Dodgers requires some Kansas City in your life, I think. So it's a team that I'm not surprised ends up being one of the pieces of leverage on this slate.
Yeah, and so one thing we'll talk about when we get to stacks, but I do think it's a pretty important talking point is if you had to play a stack against one of the chalky pitchers today, and I mean like the stacking in Zach Littell, I think is pretty common sense relative to his ownership. But if I had to stack against Kershaw, Nola, or Paxton in a large field tournament, I'm most apt to stack against Paxton. Fair to say?
Agreed. Yes.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty reasonable that we're getting to 25% of Royal stacks here as a little bit of a leverage spot. But if you look through our ownership here, we're getting to a bunch of Kershaw, getting to a bunch of Nola, getting to a bunch of Paxton as well, and then just all of the Red Sox bats here. So Pablo Reyes, Rafael Devers, Reese McGuire, Tristan Cassis. My home run pick, by the way, yesterday. He did it on the first pitch he saw, ended up going yard. So
did you see? Have you seen his numbers since the All-Star break?
Yeah, they're actually
he's number 1 in baseball in WRC plus since the All-Star break. Seems impossible.
I didn't know what the exact number was relative to everybody, but that's not shocking.
I'm going to find the exact numbers that I had from
who hasn't been number 1 in baseball? Ellie De La Cruz.
Number 1 in ISO, Tristan Cassis. Number 1 in ISO. Number 2 in WRC plus. Unbelievable.
Not bad. By the way, shout out to Chris Williams, our friend who works at Apple. He has gifted out 5 Stochastic DFS YouTube subscriptions out to the people. So I did see that Chris had asked if his subscriptions went through because he said that his computer restarted. And yes, I do see that it went through. And I didn't see it come up on my screen either, but I just went and checked and did see it in the back end there. So Chris, thank you very much for supporting the channel. If anybody else ever wants to support us, just like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is the cheapest and easiest way for you guys to help us out. And we do appreciate it a whole bunch. Anything else you're noticing here in the lineups we built other than that it's just all of the Red Sox and all the land?
It is literally like, my God, why have you forsaken me? Lots of Red Sox.
Yeah, it is an understatement to say it is all of the Red Sox, all of them. But I do think it's at least worth noting there, like I said before, Pablo Reyes, Rafael Devers, Reese McGuire, Tristan Cassis. Yeah. Those are the Red Sox we got to the most in our Red Sox stack. So let's do the same experiment here with the lineup generator on FanDuel and build contrarian lineups, Jordan, because I want to see what we get to as far as contrarian FanDuel lineups. Maybe this will get us to last Boston Red Sox. Initial thoughts here are probably not because the first lineup has 4 Red Sox in them, but do that quick clicking there that you've mastered there, Jordan, and let's see what ends up popping up in these lineups. All right, less Red Sox, but that's not saying much. Instead of 95%, we got to 90% Red Sox stacks on FanDuel.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That is so wild.
45% Phillies, 55% Rays. So there are other teams here that are making it into our lineups as well. Although nothing crazy contrarian, I would say, about this by any means. But let's look at the player exposures. By the way, it's also possible that our data just says that there are not very good contrarian lineups today.
I think it probably speaks to the volatility underneath the top pitchers. Like we're talking underneath Kershaw, Nolan, and Paxton. Those 3 specifically are like, oh, can we go to the pitchers? What is our pitcher exposure here for FanDuel? Can you pull that up there, Jordan? Let me pull it up.
Yeah, so we have Aaron Nola is in 50% of our lineups, Kershaw in 45%.
See, that's wild to me that we would have 45% Clayton Kershaw. I'm inclined with you where I think the Paxton thing makes sense. And I said, this is the tough part with the data is it's so hard to know what the range of outcomes for Clayton Kershaw in pitch count and innings pitched is very, very wide, considering, what we know about Clayton Kershaw coming off of the IL or pitchers in general coming off the IL. We're going to treat them with kitty gloves. But again, the spot could not possibly be better than facing this Colorado lineup.
Let's look at something. Clayton Kershaw is no stranger to the injured list.
Look at his last couple.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do here. I'm looking at his game log from last year. Or actually, I could do even more than that because we could just go into FanGraphs and I could just type in, all dates. So let's just see like any big gaps that Kershaw's had recently and how many innings he threw when he came back. All right, let's see. So if we're looking at last season, he was on the injured list from May 7th to June 11th. His first start back, he threw 4 innings, gave up 2 runs and had 4 strikeouts. So that was an extended layoff that he had last year. If we go to 2021, we see that Kershaw took off from July 3rd until September 13th. He pitched 4 1/3 innings in his first start back, 5 strikeouts, 1 run allowed. So by the way, both these starts he pitched okay in, and they still limited him at like 4 to 5 innings.
Under 5 innings. This is what I want you to understand, everybody. Under 5 innings. I don't know what the pitch count's going to be, but you have to be cautious. And I thought I was being maybe a little bullish setting him at 80, but that was because I wanted to actually get him in lineups facing Colorado and the best strikeout matchup for a lefty to run into. So like, it's so difficult on FanDuel to imagine a scenario where I would be running into him in 45% of lineups. I'd be far more inclined to play 0.
And now I'm going to look. I mean, he didn't pitch very much in 2020, so it's kind of hard to say. But I mean, we've looked at some starts. I think 4 to 5 innings is a pretty reasonable expectation looking at those last couple. And by the way, he's older because of the way how time works. He's even older now than he was before. There's no way that he could be any younger. So yeah, I think we have to consider that as well. As like Clayton Kershaw, they're not going to be, less restrictive with him at this point in his career. We know what the long-term goals are of the Dodgers. Boy, I'm going to end up being underweight to the field on Clayton Kershaw.
I'm starting to talk myself into that on DK as well. It's going to be Aaron Nola, Paxton, Patrick Corbin. It's going to be a lot of those 3 on DK. Again, on FanDuel, I would be inclined, if he's going to show up in 20% of lineups or right around 20% of lineups, I would be inclined to full fade.
And by the way, aggressive goose in chat, time makes you older, big if true. Absolutely true. As we know, our friend Neil Warfield, so this is what happened to Neil, because people have questioned me about Neil's age. Neil actually was 39 years old 2 weeks ago, but he went right from 39 to 50. He skipped all of the years in between. That's what happens. The passage of time happens in a snap.
See, it depends on YouTube chat. It depends on my mood, because I can go from 35 to 8 real quick. So it does work out in the inverse for me.
And occasionally Eric will also be 80, depending on what is going on at any given point with him. Stacks
when I was a kid.
Stack. You want a popsicle?
You guys want to go get hot? Jordan Klein, I know you want to go get hot.
Yeah, not this again. This is why he's not allowed near the local elementary school. We've got a super chat here from Mr. CoolCam97. Mr. CoolCam wants to know, what is our favorite stack on FanDuel in tournaments? Mr. CoolCam97. All right, so if we have to give him one,
I built out one lineup. Let me pull. I X'd out of FanDuel because I have too many tabs open. I thought it was just being insane. So I want you to guess which team I rolled with on FanDuel. My one lineup in the $9 right now.
You made one lineup.
Yep. I mean, I guess it's a 4-4, so it's 2 teams that I stacked, but.
Can you tell me who the pitcher is?
It is Aaron Nola.
Okay, so you stacked the Royals.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, so if you had said you played Paxton, I was going to say that you stacked the Nationals and then vice versa.
Yeah, so it's Kansas City, and then I stacked up Washington as well. Or sorry, not Washington, Philadelphia.
Yeah. No, I think that definitely makes sense. And by the way, if you're building a national stack, it doesn't really matter if you're building a Nationals or a Royal stack, it doesn't really matter what else is in your lineup from a popularity standpoint.
All right, so here we go. So it's a 4-3-1, and I have, so I'm getting way off the board. But yeah, as you said before, Tristan Cassis, my God, he's going to be so popular on FanDuel batting cleanup today. It's just going to get redonkulous. And again, this is assuming the game's playing clean. If it gets taken off, then there you go. It is what it is. But as it stands right now, Kansas City, I feel like, is the best team to get to on FanDuel, period. End of story.
It's funny. I think Paxton is the best pitcher, and I think the Royals are the best stack, all things being considered. Is that
welcome
weird?
To baseball? Yeah, especially short slate baseball.
If you're just playing one lineup, though, Mr. Cool Cam, one lineup, I'm going to say stack the Rays. Because of the teams that are reasonable stacks today, like if we're just beyond just the teams who are taking, crazy dart throws out to ownership purposes, you've got the Red Sox, the Rays, the Dodgers, the Phillies. I think those are the most reasonable stacks we have on the slate. And of those teams, the Rays are the lowest owned by a decent margin. So I'm going to go with the Rays as my favorite team to stack.
Totally fine with that. Hey, Siri, can you show me a double dong? That'd be great.
Hey, that's a question that J-Ro has asked us. J-Ro saying 2 absolute GOATs. Thank you for the super chat, J-Ro. He wants to know, who is the most confident home run pick today? And is anybody going to hit 2 home runs? I'm going to say nobody hits 2+ home runs. But who is your home run pick of the day?
So I was finishing out my betting card here earlier. I know Isaac Paredes is on it. Where did he go? What did I have as his odds? So I was using the top batters tool. Let me cross-reference this. Yeah, I like Isaac Paredes big time to go yard. We've got him right around a 15% chance of it. I have it a little bit higher. Rafael Devers is sitting in the number 1 spot up against Alec Marsh there at 19%. Again, I've got it pretty darn close. But yeah, I've got that. And then I have another one for you. How about Weston Wilson from Philadelphia? This guy going up against our dude Patrick Corbin today. My guy. I have so much Weston Wilson. What am I doing with my life?
Couldn't tell you. Weston Wilson, by the way, Weston Wilson, maybe the most obscure home run pick we've had on the show all year. Is that fair to say?
Weston Wilson gonna go where we fall.
Yeah. Isn't he like Deadpool or something as well, Weston Wilson?
Sounds correct.
Yeah.
I'm not going to correct you. I think there's something there.
My home run pick, I'm going to go with the exact same guy I went with yesterday, Tristan Casas. We talked about how good he's been as of late. A lot of the reason I picked him as a home run play yesterday, going right back to the well, Tristan Casas. That is my home run pick of the day. So thank you for the super chat.
Oh, just take the hottest hitter on the planet. There you go. In true Greg form.
He is projected for 25% ownership today, and I'm slightly overweight to him right now.
Yeah, Tristan you Casas. Should be, because again, if this game plays clean, it's a team that I'm going to have tons of too.
Let me go into Discord and see what we're getting for questions. And we've got Einsteinium wants to know, do we like the Nationals in single entry? Let's see. Single entry today.
No, I don't.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
You love your garbage teams. But this is different. This isn't a 10 or a 12 game slate where it's like, all right, this pitcher is 48% owned, and there are a lot of other opportunities to find pitchers. I would be more inclined to do the thing I was talking about earlier where I'd play all batter. Like if you wanted to play, I wouldn't do it with an outfielder. I wouldn't do it with Lane Thomas. I kind of made that explicitly known. I could play like a Joey Meneses or a Kybert Ruiz in a lineup, and I could talk myself into either one of those, but I couldn't do Washington in single entry today.
Counterpoint. Over under 80% exposure to Aaron Nola in single entry today by the field.
That's a perfect line. I would say 70. I'll go tiny bit under, but not by much. 80 is like the perfect line for DK.
So it depends what contest you're playing in. I think in like the 121 single entry, everybody is going to have Nola and Paxton as their pitching combination. Like everybody.
Fair.
There's going to be some ownership to Kershaw. I think he's going to be lesser owned at the higher stakes because people are going to be, more cautious about some of the pitch count there. With that in mind, like I don't mind getting to the Nationals and then going to Kershaw and Paxton as my pitchers in single entry. I will say this, my lineups are not finalized, right? We're still waiting for final ownership updates and all of that. If I was playing with all the information and data right now, the Nationals would be my single entry stack. And I would be going with Kershaw and Paxton as my pitching combo.
I would be playing the absolute stone cold. Well, again, I would either be playing Kansas City or I'd be playing Paxton. I'm playing Nola 100% as my pitcher. I would not be taking the Nationals in any capacity here. I would be going Kansas City or Boston as my main stack.
Captain Akella said I had Atlanta as my single entry stack yesterday. Who is it today? I'm leaning towards the Nationals right now. I can't totally commit to it because I'm going to have to wait until the ownership gets updated. And we also don't have all of the lineups out yet. So what happens with the Rockies and Dodgers lineup also could change some of my lineup making decisions a little bit. But as of right now, I'm leaning towards the Nationals. Just Lock says, am I crazy for paying Pablo Lopez only for a FanDuel GPP and fading the rest of the Boston team? No, not at all. Like the Red Sox are super popular. If you don't want to make a Red Sox stack, that's totally reasonable. I'm not going to play the Red Sox as a stack in single entry because they're going to be like 50% owned as a team in single entry.
That is correct. Spanish Armada, 1542.
So we are about to wrap up here, Eric. We've talked about some of our favorite contrarian stacks and whatnot, but one thing I want to ask you before we wrap up, are you going to be over or underweight to the field on the Boston Red Sox as a team stack?
I will be way over if this slate locked right now. And knowing that the game would play clean. If this game has a late start, I will be trying to get to as many Dodgers as possible if we lose the first 2 games early.
So we currently have the Red Sox projected for 26% ownership as a team, and I have 19% Red Sox stacks at the moment. So slightly underweight, still a healthy amount of them, but a team that it looks like I'm going to be underweight to the field to in large field tournaments. So guys, thank you very much for watching and stick around. Don't go anywhere on the YouTube channel. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, but don't forget right after us, NFL Live Before Lock, Lawfy and Matt Kajeski. You want to get all your football information from Matt Kajeski because he's the sharpest guy out there when it comes to stuff like college football, preseason. And if you want a preseason package, don't forget 25% off when you sign up today. That offer is only good for today. So sign up using that link below, 25% off. Peace out, guys. Good luck with all your lineups. Check out those guys breaking down some football now.